The first is you'll recall that Wisconsin's voter suppression law was struck down. It has now been struck back up. 3 Republican-appointed judges. Actually, before I tell you this story, let me just give you a little backstory. Last night, the frame that I'd like to put this in. Last night on my TV show, I had Mike Papantonio on and asked him the question, what's happened to the Koch brothers? We haven't seen hide or hair of them. And he said that's because they've been working on way down ballot races, like literally school boards, city councils, and in particular judgeships. He said nobody pays any attention to judgeships, but if you can get the judges in, then you got everything. Now, federal judges, of course, are appointed by the president, so in that case, it would be the president. But this is just an example of the power of judgeships. So here we have 3 Republican appointees to the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals, Frank Easterbrook and Michael Cain, who were appointed by Reagan, and Diane Sykes, who was appointed by George W. Bush. And these 3 judges just said, even though we've only been able to find one example of voter fraud at the polls in the last 140 years, one example, we're going to put these voter restrictions back in place. Now, over at the Center for American Progress's blog, Think Progress, they note, the justice editor of Think Progress, Ian Millhiser, notes the most recent 7th Circuit Court panel, he talks about who they were, and then he says, although this order is very bad news for supporters of voting rights, Wisconsin voters who face disenfranchisement do have one reason for hope. After the first 7th Circuit Court's panel's decision reinstating the voter ID laws, lawyers challenged the law, asking the full 7th Circuit Court to hear the case, and the 10 active judges in the court split 5-5 on whether to do so. Under the court's rules, that even split means the panel's decision remains in place. Since then, however, Judge John Tinder, a George W. Bush appointee, took semi-retirement. So if they can push it back to the whole court, it might be 5-4 in favor of striking down Wisconsin's voting laws. But in all probability, that'll happen after the election. So, Republicans in Wisconsin are very high. One study found the Democratic turnout drops in the face of voter suppression laws. Democratic turnout drops by an estimated 8.8 percentage points in general elections, as opposed to 3.6% for Republicans. Because Democratic voters, which includes poor people, young people, minorities, elderly people, they're less likely to have the photo IDs necessary, or at least the current valid ones. People who haven't been driving for years because they're in their 70s or 80s, why keep a driver's license? Well, if it's expired in Wisconsin, you can't use it to vote. So there we go.
To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.